Zimbabwe has been destroyed by the Mugabe regime, and if a journalist mentions any of this, they are beaten and driven into exile, which is exactly what happened to our client, a newspaper called the Zimbabwean.
They will get arrested and get bashed by the police.
But intimidating the Zimbabwean was not enough for the Mugabe regime. They declared the newspaper a luxury and imposed a 70% luxury import duty on the paper that makes it unaffordable for the average, impoverished Zimbabwean. This is a dictatorship that stays in power by printing money and crushing freedom of speech. To get the paper into Zimbabwean hands, it needs to be subsidized, and our client can only do that by raising awareness and driving sales outside Zimbabwe. With a minimum budget at our disposal and a serious amount of competitive communication and noise from both South African and international newspapers, we needed a solution that would allow the Zimbabwean to punch way above its weight. We needed an idea that would amplify the limited budget and would make the whole world sit up and take notice. To create awareness for atrocities and the plight of a nation, human rights organizations arrange rallies and protests outside embassies, and people sign petitions. For their part, the media concentrate on reporting the news and printing shocking headlines. In the case of Zimbabwe, all of these things have been done. Zimbabwe broke world records by logging a 132 billion % inflation rate. Months later, the African nation was again making news by launching a new note, the 100 trillion Zimbabwean dollar. It's one of the most eloquent symbols of Zimbabwe's collapse. This banknote and the escalation of notes that preceded it cannot buy anything, not even a loaf of bread. In essence, Zimbabwe's money is not worth the paper it's printed on. But this is just another tragedy that followed so many the world has already heard about Zimbabwe. Instead of telling the world, we believed we needed to demonstrate the real implication of the Mugabe regime. In order for the Zimbabwean to achieve disproportionately high awareness and impact with their limited funds, they would need to find a way to make South Africans and the rest of the world really see and feel the plight of Zimbabwe. The vision was to find a way to make the news about what is happening in Zimbabwe real to people who might have become apathetic towards it. The currency might be worth less than the paper it is printed on, but what it symbolizes is not. The disruption. Make the money the message. Make the money talk. We realize people can't walk past or ignore money, especially if it's been given away for free. The greater the denomination on the front, the greater the share of attention it attracts. We printed our messages all over the actual notes and turned them into our advertising. We made the world's first billboards out of real money. In public places and wherever the Zimbabwean was sold, we created posters made out of real money with notes that people could detach to keep the web address and show their friends. We handed out millions and billions of banknotes, one at a time at Johannesburg's busiest intersections, universities and street corners. We sent bundles of notes to captains of industry, politicians and media personalities. We took thousands of banknotes and made murals on city streets with trillion-dollar wallpaper. Overnight, trillions of dollars of Zimbabwean notes achieved what they'd never been able to buy: real and meaningful advertising, with real and meaningful impact. Within hours, we were in national press, and a couple of days later, the campaign was on national TV and radio. And then the internet discovered it, and it spread across the world. Soon we were on the New York Times site, Yahoo News, the Huffington Post, Creative Review, and hundreds of websites and blogs. There are currently 3,360 hits for the billboards on Google. Over 200,000 people visited the Flickr page for the Zimbabwean. As the campaign continues, sales of the Zimbabwean continue to soar. In the week of the rollout alone, the Zimbabwean website logged over 2 million hits versus their average traffic of 100,000. More copies of the Zimbabwean than ever are crossing the border into Zimbabwe. We used Mugabe's own creation against him.